go there.
Let me hit the gavel. I think Adrian's going to turn us on back there, so good. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to our January regular board meeting. We'll go ahead and get started this evening, and we'll do that with, I'll ask Mr. Caldwell if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Ms. Beck, would you mind reading the Clay County Schools mission statement, please?
The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environments that ensure all students learn at high levels.
Thank you. The only announcement we have is our next regular meeting will be held February the 26th here in the boardroom at 6 o'clock. With the agenda, there is one quick change. There's policy 7510 that's in the consent agenda. I'm going to remove that from the consent agenda and add that as number 19. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Under the action item. So, and Ms. Godfrey's going to go over the change that we need to discuss with that when we get there. So that's otherwise the agenda is the same as it was emailed to you, printed out there. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda with that one change of.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
All in favor? Thank you. And this time we'll do public comment. No public comment. Perfect. Nice crowd formed back there this evening. That's good. And we'll start with Ms. Godfrey and the superintendent's report. We've got some good news hopefully there. So
yeah, I won't take a lot of time because we've got a lot of other good news built into the agenda to share with you, so I want to make sure we get to that quickly. Thank you all for coming. Just a couple of exciting things I want to share with you that have happened since our last meeting. As of today, Hayesville Intermediate School is up for bid, so we'll be in the bidding process for the next 5 weeks, and so hopefully at the end of that time period, we will know which contractor we'll be working with on the new school, but that means it's getting closer, and we're super excited about that. We just finished up our first semester. We'll be starting our second semester tomorrow, and it will be next month before we'll be able to hear from Mr. Oberlin in regards to testing at the high school. We don't have all of our scores in yet, but super excited to see how our students did and celebrate their accomplishments. This past week, I held 2 listening sessions for the community stakeholders, community and parents. And there's one more of those coming up this week on Thursday at 5:30 here in the boardroom. So just want to make a plea if anyone's interested in coming and just having an opportunity to talk about the future of Clay County Schools. I would love for you to be there. Those sessions have lasted about an hour, so they're not too long, but I would love to have any of you that would like to be there We've had an interesting couple of weeks with weather, so I'm very happy to report that we are expecting warm weather this week with hopefully no snow or ice. So excited about that.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Godfrey?
Ms. Godfrey, did you say that next listening session is this Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday at 5:30. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Next we have recognitions. Mr. Oberlin looks like he's got a large crowd back there this evening. So.
Good evening, Clay County. Yes, this is a large crowd tonight. We're recognizing fall student athletes who were honorable mention all conference or all conference, the Smoky Mountain Conference. And we'll start with volleyball, excuse me. So Coach Dills will come up and introduce.
I don't know if I need that intercom.
No, she doesn't need it.
All 3 of my players are here tonight. We have, in volleyball, we only have 12 girls that have a chance to get all conference. They only give 12 all conference out of the whole, Smoky Mountain Conference. But we had 2 honorable mentions and 1 all conference. Madison Moore, middle hitter, she was honorable mention. Madison had 127 kills, 31 total blocks, 26 aces, and 21 digs. Mallory Peck, she's also a middle hitter, was honorable mention. She had 113 kills, 34 total blocks, 12 aces, and 33 digs. Phoebe Patella, is our libero. She was all conference. Hers is a little different. Phoebe is our libero, so her stats is a little different. Phoebe served 202 serves, only missed 4 serves, and had 21 aces. She had 47 assists. She had 261 digs, along with receiving 482 serve receives with only 35 errors. So, all of my 3 players will be returning. We only had 1 senior this year, so I'm fortunate that our season next year should be very exciting with all of our all-conference and all mentions returning. Thank you.
Can I take a photo, ladies?
Yes, get in the photo.
Bashful us. Where you want us?
Yeah, that's good on that. Yeah, that's good.
They're all tall. They're all volunteers.
Oh, Angel.
Congratulations, ladies.
Good job.
And now Coach Mike White with men's soccer is going to come up. He's got 3 student athletes to recognize.
I'm Coach White. I coach the men's soccer in the fall, and it's a very interesting season. We had a pretty young team, and we played the top team in the conference the first game of the season, and I think that's when our season just started to get better. It's quite an eye-opener for a lot of freshmen and new players we had, but overall we ended up pretty well. We ended up in the middle of the conference. I was not displeased at all, considering the education that some of these young players had to get. And we had 3 players on the team that got recognized as memorable players in the conference. The first player is Stephen Rodaluna. This young man decided that initially he didn't want to be a goalie. But I'll be honest, I am really glad he changed his mind of his own free will. We didn't coerce him and try to take him behind the shed or anything. He had a really great season. He had 77 saves, and some of these saves were just something you would see in Premier League soccer. I mean, he just really, really progressed. He's an underclassman. Now, I hope he comes back next year. It depends. He may have other plans educationally wise, and if he does, I wish him the best. But Stephen, if you're still here next year, I sure hope you come back and play. Congratulations.
Stand here,
That being said, we are going to be losing some players that were seniors. One of them led our offense this year. He was the high scorer for the season and was really one of our major playmakers offensively. And he got recognized an honorable mention, and that is Wayne Barber. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best, young man, and thank you for what you did for us this season. Okay. Now, the next player is, he's our all-conference player. He is the one that really glued us up defensively after that first game where we just got spanked really well. And everybody's eyes got opened of what the Southern SMC Conference soccer was. They finally decided that somebody needed to step up and take charge of organizing us defensively. And Mr. Caden Gordon, senior this year, did that. And the thing that this young here, I am not joking. The thing that that he really was never afraid of it. I don't care if a ball was coming in the air from the other end of the field. He was not going to let it hit the ground, and it was usually with his head. Okay? I don't know how he didn't end up with concussions and migraines and headaches and, blurred vision and whatever else, but he just really stepped up and made sure it was organized. You could see him on the field directing defenders and talking to the defense. And Kate, whatever you decide to do, young man, after you graduate, I wish you the best too. Okay? Good job, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And next we have Coach Zach Moss with men's and women's cross country. He has 4 student athletes to recognize tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Evelyn. We had a great season this year with cross country, and I think as a whole, both teams, the men and women teams, competed really, really well in the Smoky Mountain Conference, in the regional championships, and at the state championship. I have 4 athletes that I'd like to recognize tonight. I would like to recognize my first athlete who could not attend. He's at basketball practice tonight. But Landon Hughes finished as an All Smoky Mountain honorable mention runner. He's been our team captain for the past 2 years and is a wonderful leader. I'll miss him tremendously. He's a hard worker. And so I wanted to recognize Landon, even though he wasn't able to be here. The next athlete that I'd like to recognize is Noah Carter. Noah finished as an All Smoky Mountain Conference runner this year. As a freshman, he was ranked as the 27th fastest runner in the 1A division of the state of North Carolina. So that's a great accomplishment. He led our team. He went on to run at the Foot Locker Southeast Regional Championship following our state championship. He was our fastest runner all year as a freshman, so I'm really proud of Noah. The next runner that I would like to recognize is Raylan Wood. Raylan finished as an All Smoky Mountain honorable mention runner. Raylan was also ranked this year as the 37th fastest runner in the 1A division. She's a sophomore and will be returning to our team next year as a leader. The last runner that I would like to recognize is Sydney Greenstone. Sydney finished the year as an All Smoky Mountain Conference runner. As a freshman, she was ranked as the 26th fastest runner in the 1A division. She led our team all year from summer workouts to the regional and state championship meets. And I think that Sydney is a star waiting to be. So we're really proud of all of these 3 and Landon Hughes as well. Our team, we're very young this year. We're only going to lose 3 runners, men and women teams will only be losing 3 runners. So we're a really young team and look forward to what the future has to hold.
Congratulations.
And our last fall sport recognitions will be football with head coach Chad McClure. And he has quite a crew coming in.
This crew knows you have to have a meeting. Stir crazy out there. What are they going to do?
First of all,
just want to thank our school, our board, administration for all the support. I'm very blessed to be able to lead this program. I played for this program, so it's special to me. These guys are special, and we had a great year. Finished 7-5, back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in over 20 years, and that's a credit to our coaches and these guys and their other teammates who bought in. And if you got to watch them this fall, they competed, which was fun to watch. I'm going to start with the underclassmen. First one, honorable mention all conference defensive lineman Will Brown, sophomore. Of course, all these guys play both sides of the ball on special teams for us, but Will had a great year for us as a sophomore. I think he ended up, from the defensive end spot, had 4 sacks, I think 34 tackles. Looking forward to seeing him in the future after he gets stronger. Next, Dawson Devane. Dawson played tight end and outside linebacker for us. He was recognized as honorable mention all conference at the tight end position. Super kid, hard worker. He was a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball. Next, sophomore, all conference running back, Trey Graves. If you don't know Trey, you need to get to know him. Trey had a great year as a sophomore for us, both sides of the ball, but especially at the running back position. He had over 1,000 all-purpose yards for us. And I think tied for touchdowns with 11 on the team. So excited about Trey and his future here with Hazel football. Junior Michael Money. Pound for pound, maybe one of the best football players I've ever coached. Just a tremendous athlete, not scared. I think he had 5 interceptions, which I believe led the conference. So excited about having him come back. He was all conference defensive back for us. The next 4 guys are seniors. We're going to miss them next year, but they've been a big part of helping us turn around this program and get it in the direction we want it to go. The first one is Seth Leak, senior. We didn't know who was going to be a punter for us, so Seth stepped up and did a great job for us. Averaged over 30 yards a punt. But he did a lot of other things for us as well, offensively and defensively. But he was all conference at the punter position. Next one is Isaac Chandler, senior kicker. Isaac ended up, I think, with 25 touchbacks on kickoffs, which is huge in football. So 7 field goals, been the most field goals we've hit as a football program in a long time. So, and he's as well as these others did a lot of things offensively and defensively for us. You probably saw him catching touchdown passes, coming up hitting people from the free safety position. So, Taylor McClure, senior. Taylor was all conference at the linebacker position. He led us in tackles, led the conference in tackles for loss. So he did a great job defensively and offensively for us. So, him along with these other 4 are going to be hard to replace. Lastly, but not least, the man who makes it all happen, Lane was all conference at offensive line for us, and probably one of the best linemen I've coached. I've been here about 24 years. So, he's tough. Always gave his best effort. Great leader up front for us. Played pretty good on defense too. So, this is a great group. It's the most I can remember being selected by other coaches to the all conference team. So I'm super proud of them. Gonna miss these 4. Looking forward to these 4 coming back along with their teammates. So. Thank you.
Can I get some of you in the front squad? She'll help us out. Not Jesus, Robert. Thank you.
Kelly, get off my chair back here.
I got you. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So proud of you guys. So proud of you. So proud of you. I love the camaraderie between the boys and that's I love having football boys in that class. Oh, love it. They were in discipline.
That's good.
Oh, except for
All except for
Next, we have Miss Moss with the middle school and high school chorus recognitions.
Good evening. It's an honor to present these young gentlemen in front of you tonight. I'm extremely proud of them. I'm going to start with the middle school. We took about 10 students to audition this year, and I'm glad to say that we had 2 middle school students out of probably close to 600 students across the state that auditioned. So Haysville had 2 middle school students that were selected, and that's a very prestigious honor because there's lots of schools that bring lots of kids to audition and they come away with nobody getting selected. So I'm extremely proud as a director and as a parent also to recognize Brady Gertis, 7th grader. Brady was selected as a tenor 1. And again, this was his first year auditioning, but I suspect that he will be selected again. He's just a really awesome singer and awesome student. He's an ideal choir student, so very proud of Brady. Next for the middle school, we have Micah Moss. Micah was selected as a bass 2. This is his 2nd year being selected as a bass. So again, extremely proud as both teacher and parent. So I'll go ahead and have Adrian play just a little clip. I thought, we have a DVD, so let y'all see the numbers of students that were here. What you're going to hear is an audition piece that they had to prepare a portion of, so they had to, this is what they were selected with, the song they were selected with. So go ahead, Adrian. class. So pretty amazing across the whole state, and they got to work with a clinician that's actually from North Carolina, and so that was neat too, that they could see somebody that came up through North Carolina choral music and now was a clinician, composer, and professor. So pretty neat. So if y'all,
Congratulations.
You too.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys.
We have one more recognition for Hayesville High School. So if I can have Grant Kendricks go ahead and come forward. Grant is my all-star honors chorus member. We went several years without having a high school honors chorus member, and Grant, I'm proud to say, he made it in his sophomore year and also in his senior year, both as a bass one. And I'm extremely proud of Grant. I know after he made it his first year, he started getting some recognitions from some colleges and universities. So it kind of put in perspective for him how much honors chorus really meant as far as getting some accolades in the state music programs. So I'm extremely proud of him. He made it 2 years in middle school as well. So he sang different voice parts then as his voice was changing and things like that. So he can truly say he is well versed in honors chorus. So, like I said, I'm extremely proud of Grant and all the hard work that he's put into our choral program. And I know as kids are going through high school and trying to select classes, it's a hard choice when they can take anything. They've got tons of classes to choose from, and Grant has consistently stuck with chorus and maintained all of those other classes that are equally as important to his education and his future as far as getting scholarships and acceptances to colleges and things like that. So I'm just extremely proud of him, and look forward to what his future holds as well, both in the arts and outside the arts. So I hope that what he's learned here at Hayesville High School through the choral program can take him far in lots of his confidence and just every area of his life. So I'm super proud of him. So Grant, thank you.
Congratulations.
I see his too, yeah. So I'm gonna get the picture and see the clip or however you want to go. Okay, let's do the picture first, and I have a clip in the high school. So the next little clip that Adrian's going to show is for the high school. If he can get it to pull up, it's not going to. Is it going to pass? Can you fast forward it? No. It was all on the same DVD. Well, anyway, I had hoped to show a little clip of theirs as well, so you could hear. Well, I wanted you to sing, Grant.
I would love to not.
We don't like to be put on the spot, do we, Grant?
Or at all.
It's different when you got 170 of your closest friends. Yes. I'll try to send y'all a clip from my phone.
Okay, yeah. Congratulations. Next we have Ms. Godfrey.
So, Dawn, can you join me real quick? Before we move on to the next thing, I just want to say it's very bittersweet celebrating our seniors and what they've accomplished, but also excited about how many of them are succeeding, at such a high level, even as underclassmen. So just a few things that we were just talking about in between is the camaraderie, with the coaches and their players and how rewarding that is to see. But I want to tell a quick story about, don't you guys leave. Noah Carter, I was at a cross-country meet in Swain. Noah finished the race, took off his shoes, and literally his socks were soaked in blood from, I guess, blisters from running, and it never slowed him down. They're tough. They're really tough kids, and so I'm proud to see all that they've accomplished and how much, work that they're putting into being as successful as they've been. And also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Miss Moss. If you didn't get to be at the Christmas winter concert, it was fabulous. And her students are both at the middle school and the high school level. It was wonderful. So keep up the good work. We just quickly wanted to recognize Mr. Moss since he's here, and he wasn't able to be here last month when we celebrated those teachers that exceeded growth. He was coaching basketball, and they had an away game, so he couldn't be here. So we just wanted to real quickly let him have his moment to shine too. As we talked about last month, it's a huge accomplishment to be able to exceed growth, and so we commend you for your success. And this isn't the first time, so he's done this several times, and we're just super proud of you and thankful for all you do for our kiddos. Congratulations. Next on the agenda is also me. It's National School Board Appreciation Month. And we have cake to celebrate after the meeting. So if you guys want to stick around and have cake with us, I don't know about you guys, but cake's a great way to celebrate, in my opinion. So we have cake to celebrate. But I just want to thank you for what you guys do each and every month for our kids, and all throughout the month, really. I can say, having been new to this position over the last 2 months, you guys have extended a lot of grace and patience, as I've learned, just getting my feet wet. And what I can say about these guys collectively as a board and also as individuals is how much they deeply care about our school system and how much they care about our students and our success. And that's what is evident to me as I've worked with them, both as a principal and now as a superintendent. And I just want to extend my appreciation to you all for what you all do and how you serve our students in our district. So we appreciate you guys. We'll have cake later.
Thank you.
Just want to say thanks for those recognitions. That's always, I know it's been said, but it's always really nice to see the success of our students and acknowledge that and be able to tell their story. So
yes,
appreciate that. Next we have the report section. It looks like we're going to start with the elementary school. And
while she's
drawing straws back there.
We're doing the elementary school and the middle school are sharing their mid-year data. Next month we will have the primary school. They don't finish their mid-year assessments till the 29th of this month, so Ms. Clemens said February would be better for her. And we don't have quite all of our EOC and CTE results back just yet. We're waiting on some of those, and we also have a few makeups we've got to knock out. So those will be to come next month, but we're going to have elementary and middle today.
Thanks for having us. I'm excited to share all the growth that I've been able to see in HES already. I can't take credit for any of this, so I'm just sharing it today. I'm very honored to be able to share it, though, all the hard work that Ms. Godfrey and the rest of her team and students have done. So the first, if you'll keep clicking there, thank you. From here, the brighter color pyramid, the triangle, that is the middle of year, and the shaded one is from the beginning of year. So tier 1 is just the big chunk that you can see and how much growth that they have already received in that. That's the goal, that is where they're on grade level or above grade level. You can see that our yellow, which is tier 2, has shrunk since the beginning of the year, and also the tier 3. The red piece is if they are below 1 or more grade levels. So lots of growth already. You can see on the side, it's hard to see those letters. The first one, the top green, that's phonemic awareness, and that's kudos to the primary school. Over the last several years, they have all been proficient at that when they come to 3rd grade. So that's a big shout out and pat on the back for the primary school. Down at the bottom, literature and info, those are the 2 main focuses at then vocabulary for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. You can go on to the next one. Another kudos to the primary school is this year, 3rd grade, beginning of year, had 5% less in red than it did last year. So they came to us on grade level 5% more. From here, you can see the most recent is the middle of year. The one right below it for each grade level is the BOI. So you can see how our bands have shrunk in some areas where we want them to, and it has grew in other areas. So 3rd grade, this is for reading. We have, I think this is 70% that are on grade level or above right now. And we're just halfway through the year, so that really speaks volumes to how those 3rd grade teachers are really stepping it up. They're doing a lot of interventions, and those interventions are meeting kids where they are, and so that's a huge impact in this. 4th grade is at 40% proficient, and then 5th grade is at 67%. And as you can see, like 3rd grade, the red for BOI compared to our most recent, we're really filling in those gaps and meeting those needs, so that speaks volumes too. Same for 4th grade and 5th grade. All right, here shows our annual typical growth for each grade level. So obviously in the middle of the year, your typical growth would be about 50%. And so you can see for every grade level, their progress, their medium, is well above 50%. It's almost doubled. Still some room to grow, of course, but we have at least doubled what they're already expecting them to know, so that's huge. Yeah. All right, so this is mid or above grade level. From last year, we have 14 more that have pushed above where they're expected to be at this time of the year. And that last one, 3 or more grade levels below, we have 9 less students this year who are below grade level. 3 or more grade levels below, sorry. This is a chart to compare us to the national norms for iReady. As you can tell, those 3 dots, we are performing higher and we are growing higher than a lot of others. So it's a huge accomplishment to be on that side of the quadrant. So that speaks volumes too. Some highlights for reading. We had 87% for the number of students with overall pass rate between 70 and 100% on their pathways. So iReady, not only just the diagnostic that they take, but also the daily work that they do with the lessons that are directed to where they need. 87% are passing those lessons, which means they're working towards them and it's being successful. Last year it was about 81%. 44% growth of students at mid-late placement doubled compared to last year. So that means filling those gaps to push them not to just be on grade level, but to be a little bit above. And then 33% were the number of students who placed green striped. Green striped means above where they're expected to be. So that's up 19% from the beginning of the year. Now on to math. So we nearly doubled the number of students who are green. So math has been a huge focus. Shifting over, you can tell that our numbers and operations, that's that first green stripe up there, the first top stripe, that is number and operations, which is number sense. And so a lot of those other skills build from that. So that's an area that our teachers have really been focusing on, and you can see there's just a small amount that are still below grade level there. Our tier 1, our green band on the triangle, that just shows how much it's doubled that are performing on grade level where they're supposed to be at this point of the year. Another kudos to HPS. 3rd grade BOI had 10% more green, so on grade level compared to the last 2 years. Again, here you can see a comparison between the beginning of year test and their most recent middle of year test, the growth between the ones that are below are the reds. You can see from 3rd grade there, we went from, I think this is 23% to only 8% of 3rd graders being below grade level in math. Same with 4th grade. 5th grade, we haven't seen as big of a jump in filling those gaps, but they still have time to work on that. Here's another chart, but for math this time. You can tell that the percentages aren't quite as high from where it's their progress median, but they're still 50% is where they're expected to be right now according to the national standards for iReady. So that shows that we're still on the right track and a little bit ahead of that right track too. We have 6 more students at the middle of the year that are performing mid or above grade level than we did last year. And we have 4 less students who are 3 or more grade levels below. So it just shows how filling those gaps in through those interventions and really intentional tier 1 teaching is really getting all of our kids, not just the ones who are above grade level. And again, you can see that we are still performing over on that right top quadrant, which is great. So some highlights for math: 90% of our students, that's the number of students who are overall pass rate, and that's the individual pathways that they're working on, compared to 96. So still about the same, but still improvements. 64% for the growth of students at mid-late placement. That's up 45% compared to last year's MOI. And then 24% for the number of students placed green striped, which means more than 1 grade level above for middle of year, which is up 8% from the BOI. Do you guys have any questions? Lots of positives. Any questions about that?
Just a comment, I really appreciated being able to participate when they were being celebrated with the teachers walking around and giving in that recognition. The students were, everyone at one point or other were recognized by having their name called, and I thought that was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you for coming. They loved that. They were so excited about seeing their name on the board and getting to hear the teachers walk around and explain it to the students too was good.
Well, I loved being able to be there. I wish I could have done it with everybody, but it wasn't possible.
I know.
Anyway, it was great to be there with that one group.
It was a very fun day, an exciting day for the kiddos and for the teachers. I think it really says a lot when they can go around and see that every kid that's in their classroom is being recognized for something.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Some of our instructional priorities, we're going to increase the number of students that are overall green stripe. That means that they're above where they're expected to be by the end of the year. We want to improve reading from 42% to 53% being above grade level. And we want to improve math from 49% above grade level to 64% this year. That's kind of the goals that we've set for ourselves. We want to increase the percent of students who meet typical growth by the end of the year. Increase the percent of students with improved placement in reading and math compared to last year's EOI. And when they are working on their independent pathways, we want to make sure that they're using headphones with fidelity to make sure that they're listening to the lesson, not just clicking, but we want to make sure that they're getting something from what they're doing, which this data is showing that they are getting something from it because of their pass rates. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Ms. Rich with the middle school report.
So I just called Chris and Melissa Jr. Okay, so I'm going to share our MOI assessment results with you guys this evening. It's going to be iReady, and I want to share a little bit of our check-in data with you guys too. So 6th grade, and in middle school, iReady is a little bit different, I think, than elementary because students in middle school they're not always invested, I think, and I think last year when the board came and met with us during we had our lunch and the students kind of shared that with you guys, I think they grew tired of it by the time they're in middle school, and so a lot of times it's really hard to tell if they're giving it their best effort, but it's the only data we have, so that's what we go by, but I'm not really sure how reliable it is in middle school, but so in 6th grade reading, we actually took our iReady test on December 4th, which is after 3 months of instruction. And for the most part, across all the grade levels, we did have a decrease in Tier 3 and an increase in Tier 1. So you can see in 6th grade reading, we had a decrease in Tier 3 by 9%, from 30 to 21. And in Tier 1, we had an increase of 5% from 46 to 51. So, being in December, not bad. 6th grade math, Adrian, the next one. We had a decrease of 5% in Tier 3 from 8%, I need to put my glasses on, 8% from 21 to 13, and an increase in Tier 1 from 43 to 55, so that's an increase of 12%. So looking good in 6th grade math. 7th grade reading, we also had a decrease in Tier 3 of 3%. And in Tier 1, we had an increase of 4% from 39 to 46. Next one, 7th grade math, we had a decrease in Tier 3 of 4% from 28 to 32. And then Tier 1, we had an increase of 11% from 31 to 42. And then 8th grade, this is something I've never seen before, even in my classroom years. There's no change from 8th grade reading beginning to middle, so I'm not sure how that came about, but it is what it is. So you can see that Tier 3 is still 38% and Tier 1 is still 42%. And then 8th grade math, we have, we did increase in Tier 3 here, 3%, but we increased by 8% in Tier 1. So a little bit of work still to do in 8th grade. And something else about middle school. Middle school teachers are just now getting their feet wet with doing like intervention time and intervention, so they're just learning how to look at data and do those interventions and pick out what skill they need to be intervening on. So overall, can't complain. I think they worked really hard to get where we've gotten. So we can improve, but we are moving in that direction, and they are moving in that direction. Melissa wanted us to talk about rewards and incentives. So 6th grade always gives 30 minutes of extra break, and then they always give them a little treat to enjoy during their extra break. 7th grade gives credit for future I-Ready lessons, and that's because middle school students don't enjoy I-Ready lessons. Plus, Brooke always gives them a little sweet treat to enjoy. And 8th grade right now is planning an extra break for their students. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is our BOY check-in data. And for me, this tells me a little bit more about where our kids are, our students are. The check-in is actually an assessment that mirrors the EOG. It's very much the same in structure and question format. So when I look at how they perform on the check-in, I can kind of tell, especially in reading, how they're going to do at the end of the year if they still progress the same way. So in reading, all standards are tested. So whatever they score at the beginning, as long as they maintain or grow, I know they're going to do that or better at the end of the year. Math is a subset of standards, so it's kind of a little bit harder to tell if that's indicative of how they'll do at the end of the year, but it gives us some good data about what interventions need to be done and what skills have already been mastered. So for 6th grade, the target percentage for proficiency is 66.67. And for the beginning of the year check-in, we had 41% of our kids already meet that. So I feel confident that as long as we're got good core and good interventions, they're going to remain and just keep growing. Same thing happened in 4th grade, which is really odd because it's the same percentage, same target percentage, but the same pass percentage. 8th grade was 64.58 target percentage, and a little over a quarter of the kids already met that for reading. And like I said, math is a little bit different because it's a subset of standards, but the target percentage for passing is 50%, and 48% of the kids in 6th grade met that already for that subset of standards. The target is 50% in 7th as well, and 32% or about a third, have met that at the beginning of the year. So as long as we have good core instruction and intervention, we'll keep them moving in a good direction. The next one looks kind of tough, but honestly, 8th grade had 1% that met the target of 52. In Math 1, there was 36% to make the target of 42.86. So overall, that's still 37% of 8th grade students who meet the math target. So she does a fantastic job in class. She actually is practicing a thinking classroom, and so I think at the end of the year, we're going to see the rewards of that. But I didn't want that to look like, when it looks like 1% looks like nothing, but that's actually 37% overall, so not too bad. That just tells me we have a good foundation to build off of from that first check-in. If we're giving good core instruction and doing those interventions to fidelity like we should be, I'm looking forward to the growth that we're going to see in February when we do our second check-in. So, not too bad. Questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Missy. Next, we have the audit presentation.
And that's on Zoom.
Okay.
It's going to be on Zoom. But you have your materials already.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
We can, yes, sir.
Okay. First, thank you for allowing me to do this remotely. I apologize if something that came up. I'm very grateful for your willing to work with me. The main thing that our agency audit firm to do is issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. We issue an unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote clean report. There were no findings, either financial or compliance. So congrats to you, the board, staff, etc. Everybody worked very kindly with us, provided us all the information in a timely manner, so we're very grateful for that. If you'd be kind enough in the presentation summary to look over page 1, I'll run through a few things real quick. On page 1, those first 3 paragraphs, after significant audit findings, it discusses accounting policies, accounting estimates, and disclosures to financial statements. We were in agreement with all of those. There were no difficulties in counting to perform the audit on page 2. No uncorrected misstatements. The disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated November 6th. I'm sorry, it looks like this. So,
It's in the back.
It's in the back of your book.
and I'm on page 2 of that document, so I apologize. Again, on page 2, towards the bottom, we're unaware that management consulted in outside accountants, auditors, etc. And as I mentioned, there were no findings or issues. We did have a recommendation about adding a level of internal control that we did talk to the finance officer about, but that was just a recommendation, and no findings or issues. On page 4, what we attempt to do on this particular page is give you a summary of the financial statements. I'm not saying these are all the key numbers in the audit report, but these are definitely some of the key numbers. What we attempt to do is put the first, and then the 4 prior years numbers are just to the right of that, so you get a feel for what the number has some meaning and not just a number in space. So you see the top number there, to fund balance in the general fund at $237,000. If you go back to 19, that same number is $149,707. Restricted fund balance is $153,000. Unassigned fund balance is $9,870. Total general fund expenditures is $1,947,000. And then fund balance available as a percentage is 4.32%, and unassigned fund balance is 0.51%. Neither one of those have any real meaning for school districts, but they do have meaning for municipalities and counties, and they relate to the strength of the overall set of financials. But because there is a other restricted fund in here, it does kind of cut down on what the percentages could be. You see revenues over and under expenses before transfers, a minus $47,758 in the general fund, a minus $831 in the capital outlay, and child nutrition had a minus $86,419. Cash in your general fund was $125,000. Cash in other restricted was $1,278,000, and cash in child nutrition was $539,000. Again, fund balance in your general fund is $237,321. Fund balance in capital outlay is $5,567. Fund balance in other restricted fund was $1,529,000, and net position in child nutrition was $267,306. The next section shows a breakdown of your general fund revenues, with the total being $1,899,000. And then the next section shows a breakdown of your total expenditures, with a total of $1,921,765. The bottom number shows state public school monies coming in at $12,734,000 for the year.
And then federal grants fund is $2,077,000 for a total of $14,812,000. If you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 5, you can see your total fund balance in blue and restricted fund balance in red there. And then on the bottom, it shows total unassigned fund balance as a percentage. On page 6, at the top, it shows revenues over and under expenses before transfers. And then on the bottom, you see child nutrition net assets and a very positive trend there. And there was back in 2018, there was a GASB 75, which is simply an accounting standard that caused a one-time expenditure that was a non-cash expenditure. On page 7, you see your total cash and fund balances there in pie charts with the totals and underneath those, with total cash being $1,942,000 and total fund balances being $2,039,000. On page 8, you see the Clay County allocation on the left at the top and fines and forfeitures to the right. On the bottom, you see a breakdown of your general fund expenditures. And again, on page 9, you see state public school fund allocations where it's continued to rise through the years. And on the bottom, you see federal grant fund allocations where it did dip down some this year. To kind of summarize a little bit, there were no findings, either financial or compliance. The district did receive an unmodified report, which is a quote unquote clean report. Everybody was very helpful in providing data. We had no issues whatsoever. We're very appreciative of you allowing our firm to do the audit. And I'm happy to answer any questions now or as you go through the audit. You're always welcome to call me. My cell number can be provided if you call and I'm not here, and I'll get you an answer to whatever question you may have. And I'm happy to answer any questions you've got of me now.
Anybody have any questions or comments, or if not, we can email those to them or call them as you go through that.
Yeah, I think after we go through it, there may be some
Questions? Okay.
And I don't have any right now.
No.
Can I say something too?
Yeah.
Since we're finishing that up.
Yeah.
I just want to, since we're finishing, I do want to thank the audit firm for being so patient with us. I mean, we do, even though we have more staff than we did in the past, it still is a struggle sometimes. Only having 3 folks in the finance office pulling all this together and still doing our normal duties. So Larissa, Odell, and Jessica Mull, they pitch in and they help out a lot, do everything that I ask them to do. And it's not just my department. It's not just the finance office. It's the exceptional children's department, federal programs, child nutrition has to work hard during that time, and even our bookkeepers and our principals have to gather stuff for us. So it takes every one of us to pull it all together and get it done. So I still want to thank Alan and his team for working with us and being patient with us, and everybody that has to help us and with our department to pull everything together for us. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next, we have the ESSER monitoring report. Angels.
It's over. Yeah, it's over finally. We did start this in November. It did happen to be in the middle of when I had my heart attack, so we had to push it over, and finally got started. I believe it was November 4th, Shelley, when we finally got to start and do our training and get everything going. This particular monitoring was just for our ESSER funds, and it was for 14 different funding sources. And this included everything from attendance data, discipline data, leadership agendas, maintenance info, personnel info, field trip info, student data on growth academically from the things that we purchased with that funding, teacher professional development, our Gaggle software, let me see what else I've got noted here, principal retention, state funded teacher bonuses, monitoring student internet activity, after-school math programs, CTE summer enrichment, GEAR summer support, which was supplemental staffing during the summer. So it was a plethora of stuff, and it was a lot. And as Shelley said, it's not just me doing it it's everybody, and I mean everybody. It might have been gathering information for teacher assistants, it might have been bus drivers. I mean, there was data collected and saved for the next monitoring, because there will be one more, to satisfy the federal program monitor. And we had one finding the first go around, and all it was where we had two different PRCs, 176 and 177. We 177 we were using for CTE enrichment during the summer. 176 we didn't use. We didn't have enough teacher staffing interested in working the summer months that particular summer, so we wound up reverting those funds. Well, the funding that was reverted was 177, which is what we were using, not 176. And Shelley and I worked with DPI to get that taken care of and adjusted, and everything was done, we thought, in June and straightened out. But come November and December, when they were going through our documentation, they said, oh no, this wasn't taken care of. And we're like, yeah, it was, here's the emails. They said, nope. So they counted as a finding against us, even though we had taken care of it. And we went back to the people from DPI, got the documentation, got everything straightened out. And now we have a new letter, which you have a copy of, that shows that that finding was corrected, and we are good to go. So, thank you. It was good. So, things learned, but I think because we're at the end of our funding source with it and all the ESSER grants, the next audit will be very short and sweet, because we've got the bulk of it already documented. So it's just going to be what we've used January through December this year. And this funding does end. We have to encumber it by the 30th of September and expend it by the 31st of December. Okay. Any more questions about federal programs?
Thank y'all for doing that.
Just a comment that, I think it's something that we really need to recognize, is that everybody has to keep meticulous records in order to be able to pull this out and give to you.
Absolutely.
So,
yes. And even though we thought we were keeping things, then we would get back and say, oh, wait a minute, we need this, and well, let me go dig that out. And they would. Everybody had it. It was just,
right.
Now it's in a centralized little place where.
But they can't keep it on an envelope section back of the drawer
right,
somewhere.
Exactly. We did do some screenshots of some things, so here it is.
They can't do my method of bookkeeping. I just want to comment that a lot of people have worked hard to make this happen, and I know that goes across the board every day of every year, but they deserve to be appreciated for that and thanked for it.
Yes, everybody pulled together for this, so it was really great. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next, go ahead, do you want to?
Nope, child count.
Child count. So our EC department, every April and December, we have to do a count of our EC students served in the district. And each of those go to the funding that we receive specific to EC, okay, which is special education. It stands for exceptional children. So what you see in the far left is this December 2023, our count. All the way at the bottom of the white that says CCS, that shows 194 beside it. That's the total number of students in Clay County that we serve in this district that are considered to have a disability requiring specially designed instruction. There is a breakdown by school, and you'll see one that you don't recognize called CCS. We are required by law to serve all students that reside in Clay County with a disability that require specially designed instruction from the ages of 3 to 22. So that means that there are students out there that might attend our private school that's local, or they might be in our daycares, or they might be in a homeschool. And we are still obligated to serve them if the parent says they do want the services, and if they qualify for what services we offer to students that are not enrolled in our public schools. So there's two sets there in the small blocks. One is with the CCAS school, one is without, just to break that down. And what you'll see, that first column that says child count, like look at HPS says 55, it's 28.4%. That is 55 students out of HPS, that is equal to the 28.4% of that school's population, or
the child count population, so of the students. Then that's broken down by each school, and then if you look to the far right of the white CCS, it says 1321, that's our total enrollment. So 194 students out of 1321 is 14.7%. So that's 14.7% of our student population in Clay County schools is receiving specially designed instruction for a disability. Now, when I first took over EC in 2014, we were 19-point-something%. So we brought it down. We've been really working on compliance and doing things like we're supposed to, eligibility requirements, which the state has really tightened up on us, and we've been doing lots of training. So we've been able to bring that down to 14.7. We only receive funding for 12%. So that anything over 12%, we're eating up with our local funds, which is where that Medicaid money comes in to help with that reimbursement. So any questions about just the two little small blocks right there? Okay, so the bigger blocks is where I've compared the data from one count to the other. So that one in the middle shows our count December 2023 versus December 2022. Our total count last year, December 22, was 204, and we brought that down to 194. So we've been able to decrease it 1.2% since last December. And then the far right is our change since April 2023. So we've been able to change it, just 5 students there, but still it's a change. So it's not that we don't want to serve students, it's just that we don't receive funding for over 12%. So we try to be mindful of that. We try to make sure we're doing the correct eligibility processes and that we're, serving the students we're supposed to serve versus keeping them in EC just because we love them and want to help them even though they might not actually require specially designed instruction.
I would just like to say too that I think one of the things this is a testament to is the MTSS processes at each school. Yes. And I think we've really made a priority to not only prioritize MTSS at the school level, but also having a district level team that's overseeing the implementation at each school. And I think by doing that, we're able to make sure that we're addressing those needs early on. And sometimes that can deter us from actually getting to the point of a child requiring special education by intervening and providing those supports as soon as we recognize the need for it. So I think that it's a huge testament to MTSS being effective and for us being able to meet our students' needs, as well as, the goal when a student goes into special education is always for them not to require it, and so I think it's a testament to our EC staff for being able to really drill down and provide that instruction, and eventually those students being able to be successful without those supports. They're no longer required. So I think overall, anytime you see a decrease in that is a cause for, recognition and it also ensures that we're utilizing the resources we're provided and making sure that they're going to the students who truly need them and require them the most. And that makes sure that we're not spread too thin and we're able to meet the needs of the students, whatever they may be. So I am excited too that the state is considering a needs-based funding formula where students would be considered a Tier 1 student, a Tier 2 student, or Tier 3 student, even within the realm of special education, and the funding we receive is specific to the services they require. So it's sort of like a differentiated funding formula that the state's looking at, and I think that would be a really good thing, so that if you have a student who requires a lot of different services, or perhaps a one-on-one assistant or things like that, that we would be funded appropriately for that instead of just universally across the board. So.
Absolutely. And just currently, for one-on-ones, when you apply for that funding specific to that, they look at the county you live in, and we're a Tier 2 county now. We're not a Tier 1. That's based on our tax base. We don't qualify for that funding only because of a Tier 2 county. We miss it by 1 point every time I apply for it. And it's terrible, because just because of our tax base doesn't mean our students still don't need that support.
Right.
So it makes me pretty angry every time I have to argue with them.
Taxes don't always come to the school.
Yeah.
It doesn't impact.
No, we still have those kids that need that support. So at that level. So, have any questions?
No. Ms. Godfrey actually answered the one I had, because as you were talking about the eligibility process and we're seeing that number, I was curious, like, what do we have in place with MTSS?
It's MTSS.
Makes sense.
Oh, the MTSS has made a tremendous tremendous difference. And, you know, and I know that the ESSER funding that we've got involved with the interventionists and the coaches that we've got, y'all can see it in the growth that you've seen in the reports. You can see it in the decrease in need for special ed services. It's just tremendous, and I hope there's a way that the state or somehow we can come up with the funding to
maintain this. Yeah.
It's really been a game changer.
Yeah, it has.
But I think too, it's really when you have your special education numbers, your percentage at a manageable percentage, then your resources can really go to really honing in on those skills, and then you're able to exit more students. And so it really serves us well to be able to allocate our resources appropriately in that way.
And I just want to give a shout out to our entire EC team. We have 13 teachers that serve these students. Then we have speech therapists, OTs, PTs, the TAs. It takes everybody to provide the services that we need for these students, and then some. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate my EC department.
Yeah.
They're wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So.
Thank you for that. Next, we have the action section of tonight's agenda, and we'll start that with the MOU with Communities for Students.
It's time for us to re-sign our MOU with the Clay County Communities for Students. You guys have a copy of that in your Google Drive as well as your folder. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this memorandum. I'm not going to go through it. It's exactly what it has always been. There have been no changes to this memorandum. But we continue to appreciate the partnership between our county and our school system to be able to provide these services to our students. It is truly a game changer for our students and all the things that they provide. I can't say enough good things about Teresa Waldron and her team. And just whether it be tutoring, mentoring, food, clothes, shoes, coats, whatever it may be, they have those things readily available to supply to our students. And so again, nothing is changing with this, but it is time for us to update, and they did want to wait to do that until a superintendent had taken the position. So now that that's happened, they're ready for us to sign that. Do you guys have any questions about it? I'll give you a minute to look over it and see if you had any questions.
Any questions or comments? Like Ms. Guthrie said, that's the same one that we've signed the last few years for them. So if there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion that we approve that memorandum of understanding for Communities for Schools.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Crawford, Mr. Caldwell, second. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have the original for this one.
Rest of your pen.
Thank you.
And next we have budget amendments with Ms. Hollingsworth.
Okay, I had uploaded in the board folder the couple of budget amendments we had this evening. We have the state public school fund. We are budgeting an additional $234,591.64. And then we also have in our federal funds an additional $24,039.39, and this was for the ESSER 3 extended day, which is what we talked about was one of the items with the ESSER monitoring visit that we had a hard time. Those funds got reverted, then they were supposed to put them back out there for us to pick up the budget, and that didn't happen. They were having technical difficulties themselves, so we finally got the budget though, so those are there. Do y'all have any questions about anything to do with either one of those amendments? If not, we recommend approval.
So you've heard the budget amendments from Ms. Hollingsworth and recommendation to approve. Mr. Jones makes a motion that we approve. Ms. Beck, second. All in favor? Thank you.
I do have one more item to just go over with you. It's not an action item. We had an inspection of our bleachers that we are required to do annually, and I dropped this information down in the folder as well, so you had it. We will be requesting $6,478.34 from our repair and renovation
preservation funds, which is part of that lottery money that's in addition to the normal lottery money that we're getting now. So we will pull some of that down to make the necessary repairs that we have to make to those bleachers.
What bleachers did you say?
They were the high school. The high school bleachers. In the gym, yes.
I've got some bleachers.
Yes, the high school gym bleachers, yes, sir.
I didn't hear high school.
I'm sorry. But all that information is in your folder, and then we'll just have to get Dr. Shook to sign off on it before we leave. But because it was below $30,000, it did not have to be included in for approval, but it will be included probably in the next budget amendment after DPI approves our recommendation to use it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item in the action is election of the Board of Education leadership. As you guys are familiar with, our board policy states that each January we look at that the positions of chair and vice chair. So it's January, so it's time to time to revisit those. So is there just any motions for those positions, or does anybody want to talk about that, or just comments, motions? I'll just kind of open the floor to, or we can leave it the same. That can be a.
Which position are we talking about?
We can do it individually, chair and vice chair, or we can do them together if we want to leave it the same, or if there's motions independently, we can do a motion for the chair and a motion for vice chair.
I make a motion that Dr. Shook remain the chairman of our board.
So Mr. Caldwell.
If you're willing to do that.
I am willing to do that. A couple people have asked me that, and I said that I would be willing to do that if that was the wishes of the board. So Mr. Caldwell has a motion that I remain as chair. So is there a second, or comments or questions?
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck seconds that. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So with that being said, is there a motion for a vice chair position?
I would like to say, if I may, that if any board member would like to serve as vice chair, I'll be glad to nominate them. Not because don't want to do it, just because if anyone wants to serve, it's okay with me. So if you would like, feel free.
So is there a motion for Mr. Caldwell to remain, or is there a motion to replace Mr. Caldwell?
I'll make a motion for Mr. Caldwell to remain.
Thank you. I just wanted to give an opportunity. Because Dr. Shook, I didn't speak to anyone about it. I just want to make sure that if anyone wanted to serve, they have the opportunity.
Okay. Sure. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Caldwell. So we have a motion. Ms. Crawford has made a motion that Mr. Caldwell remains vice chair. So unless he's opposed to that, or anybody else is, I'll entertain a second to that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Ms. Beck seconds that. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Well, that's a little awkward sometimes. Yeah, but it's something we have to do, so I appreciate everybody doing that. So the next item under that action is the policy 7510 on the leave. And Ms. Godfrey asked that we pull that from the consent agenda because there was a paragraph there that had some verbiage that needed to be changed.
Right. So I did put a copy of this policy in your packet, and if you'll take a look on the second page, section D. As a matter of fact, section D is all that changed in this particular policy. And I apologize for not catching this before it was up for approval. In that section, it says an employee shall provide his or her supervisor and the assistant superintendent of human resources with 10 weeks advance notice of the intent to take paid parental leave. So we don't currently have an assistant superintendent of human resources. So I had requested that this be discussed separately because the other consent agendas would be taking the recommendations as they were written by the School Board Association. However, for this one, it doesn't apply for our district. So I wanted to change that to Director of Human Resources as opposed to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. It's just a very small technicality, but I want to make sure that if we're going to approve this policy, that it fits our district. So I just wanted to discuss that one separately.
Thank you. So just, Ms. Godfrey said in paragraph D, just changing that wording to fit our district with Director of Human Resources as opposed to Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources is the only change there. So any questions or comments about that change of wording? 7510.
It's a lead policy. Mm-hmm.
So if there's no questions or comments about that, I would entertain a motion that we approve policy 7510 with that change in verbiage in paragraph D. Ms. Crawford makes the motion. Ms. Beck second. All in favor? Thank you. Now we have approval of the consent agenda. And on there we have the board meeting minutes from December the 18th regular session, and then the policies that were there for approval from last month. And then you also have a list of policies there for first read this month. So, any questions or comments about the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve it as presented.
I make a motion.
Mr. Caldwell has a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Jones, second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And if there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session for.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Crawford, Ms. Beck, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate your time this evening.